Imagine you are standing before a door, not made of wood or stone, but of vibration, a threshold between two realities. On one side lies the infinite void, a realm of pure consciousness, a place beyond time where souls drift as radiant energy waiting. On the other side is physical life, the dense, miraculous dance of cells multiplying, organs forming, a heartbeat rising within the womb. This door is more than symbolic. It represents one of the deepest mysteries of human existence. The exact moment the soul enters the body. We've all experienced birth, yet none of us remembers when we became self-aware. That is because this transition from spirit to form occurs on levels far beyond the ordinary mind. It happens in 4 realms simultaneously: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. And it does not follow a straight line. It is a spiral of arrival, an orchestration so subtle most will never notice the signs unless they're trained to see them. Across history, mystics, sages, and scientists have tried to capture this moment. Each culture speaks in different tongues, but all agree on one thing. There is a moment, sacred, real, measurable, when something fundamental changes. A moment when the unseen becomes form, when light becomes flesh. Ancient perspectives. The Egyptians believed the soul entered in harmony with the stars, that celestial alignments acted as gateways. The Greeks called it the divine breath, pneuma, the animating spirit that fills the lifeless with meaning. Hindus speak of a gradual descent. The soul arrives not all at once, but in stages, anchoring more deeply into the body as it forms. These may sound like myths, yet modern science is beginning to echo what the ancients knew. Modern signs. Neuroscientists observe fetal brain activity that can't be explained by biology alone. Quantum physicists suggest consciousness may exist independently of matter. Psychologists document infants showing unique personality traits before birth. And most remarkably, many mothers report profound shifts during pregnancy. Dreams vivid beyond explanation, sudden energetic changes in the body, moments of stillness, awe, and awareness, as though the universe gently whispered, "The soul is here." 3 theories of entry. There are 3 primary theories about when the soul makes its grand entrance: at conception, at implantation, at the first heartbeat. Each theory is supported by tradition, experience, and in some cases, scientific observation. The conception theory. In many Christian teachings, and some esoteric schools, the soul enters at the exact moment sperm meets egg. In this view, the act of conception is more than a biological event. It's a cosmic ignition. 2 ancestral lineages collide, DNA fuses, a new energetic field is born. It's as though the universe grants permission. Now. Enter some mothers report unforgettable dreams on the night of conception. Others feel their energy shift, an undeniable sense that something sacred has begun. Supporters of this theory argue, how could such a powerful fusion not involve the soul? The implantation theory. This view centers on the moment the embryo attaches to the uterine wall, around 6 to 12 days after conception. Here, the idea is, the soul waits to commit fully until it has a place to anchor, a fixed address. It's during this time that the body starts producing pregnancy hormones, the chemical announcement that life has taken hold. Some shamanic traditions describe this as a negotiation phase, a sacred dance between the foreman body and the soul choosing one another. The heartbeat theory. And then there is perhaps the most poetic of all, that the soul enters when the heart begins to beat. This typically occurs around the third week of gestation. A tiny pulse, barely the size of a poppy seed, begins to drum with life. In countless cultures, one from ancient Egypt to indigenous America, the heart has been revered as the seat of the soul. The first heartbeat, then, is not just physical. It's a declaration. I have arrived. I am here. I am ready. What if all are true? Here's a thought that could shift everything. What if the soul's entry isn't a single moment, but a multi-phase process? Some esoteric teachings suggest this exact idea. A spark at conception, a bond at implantation, a full arrival in the first heartbeat. This view beautifully explains why so many mothers and mystics sense different things at different times. The soul may not fall into the body like a stone, but descend gradually like a sunrise over water. The sacred 40 days. Virtually every spiritual tradition honors the number 40. 40 days and nights of rain in Noah's flood. 40 years in the desert for the Israelites. 40 days of fasting for Jesus, 40 days under the Bodhi tree for Buddha. In pregnancy, the first 40 days are nothing short of sacred. In that time, the embryo attaches to the uterus, begins forming vital organs, generates its first heartbeat, develops the core of the nervous system. But something else is happening too. According to mystics, this is when the soul and body align, not just biologically but spiritually. Many mothers report waking at the same time nightly with a sense of presence. Lucid dreams of the child to come, unexplainable shifts in emotion, intuition, even time itself. Some say it feels like they're hosting a visitor from the stars. As the body forms in the womb, the soul does not simply appear, it arrives in stages. Each phase of this arrival carries its own energetic signature, its own purpose, and its own message. Some mystics compare it to a diver adjusting to the pressure of the deep sea. Others to a candle flame growing brighter with each breath. In all cases, the descent is deliberate, profound, and far from random. The soul's signals. Many mothers, across cultures and centuries, speak of a moment when they felt something has entered, but it wasn't physical, not yet. It was a shift in their energy, a change in the air, a strange fullness, a buzzing in the belly, an emotion they could not name. Here are the most common experiences mothers report. The signs of a soul's arrival. 1. Extraordinary dreams. These aren't normal dreams. They're vivid, mystical, often recurring. A voice, a presence, a child speaking through symbols. One mother dreamed of a golden field where a child ran to her and whispered, "Mom, I chose you." She woke up in tears. 2 days later, she tested positive for pregnancy. 2. Energetic sensitivity. Suddenly, women who never felt energy start noticing everything. Shifts in rooms, people's emotions, changes in vibration. It's as if their receptors have opened, tuning into a frequency that wasn't available before. They aren't alone anymore. 3. Time distortions. Some mothers describe a moment where time felt like it paused, or slowed, or changed in flavor. It might not coincide with conception or implantation. It's an energetic moment, the soul planting its flag. 4. Animal reactions. Pets, especially cats and dogs, become alert. They guard the belly, they bark at empty corners, they follow their pregnant owner around the house with a new intensity. They feel the new presence before anyone else does. 5. Sudden intuition. Many women describe knowing things about their unborn child that no test could ever reveal. Their personality, their likes and dislikes, even their mission in life. It's as though the soul is whispering directly to the mother's heart. mystics, and signs. Throughout time, spiritual traditions have recognized these signs and taught how to tune in to the soul's presence. In the East, they call this the first breath. Not the physical one at birth, but the energetic breath the soul takes during gestation. It begins to inhale matter and exhale spirit, mingling the two into the miracle of life. Sacred numerology, the number 5. 40 days equals 5 weeks and 5 days. In sacred numerology, 5 is the number of the human form, 5 fingers, 5 senses. The pentagram, symbol of the soul's embodiment, the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and spirit. It's as if the soul is putting on its cloak, one layer at a time, preparing to step fully into this world. Eastern perspectives. Across Eastern wisdom traditions, the soul's descent is seen not as a single dive, but as 7 falls, each one deeper than the last. In Hinduism, at conception, the divine spark touches matter. As the chakras form, different aspects of the soul begin to settle. By the 4th month, the full Atman, the eternal soul, arrives. In Tibetan Buddhism, the soul enters a state called Bardo Sidpa, the in-between place. It watches, it studies potential families. It waits for a match between karma and opportunity. Once found, it orchestrates the events of conception. Then, and only then, does it fully commit. In Taoism, souls are seen as raindrops forming in the clouds of the Tao. During pregnancy, the first hun enters at conception, vital force. The second hun enters around 3 months, emotions. The third hun arrives at birth, divine wisdom. It's a layered descent, like mist turning to rain, then to river. Science echoes the sacred. Surprisingly, modern research has begun to catch up. Dr. Peter Hepper. Fetuses show musical preferences at 18 weeks. Dr. Joseph Benvenuto. Toddlers recall prenatal events with shocking accuracy. Dr. Catherine Monk. The fetus mirrors the mother's emotional state, even subtle thoughts. These aren't metaphors. These are measured effects, and they point to something more than biology at work. What it all means. The soul is not a passenger. It is the architect of its journey. It chooses the family. It watches the conditions. It waits for the moment to say, yes, now I will enter. And when it does, everything changes. What if the soul does not simply arrive when it must, but instead chooses when to descend? What if the moment of incarnation is not an accident, but a sacred contract, carefully selected by a consciousness older than time? This is the view held by some of the world's most advanced spiritual traditions, and increasingly echoed by modern science. Free will in the womb. According to these traditions, the soul prepares for incarnation long before conception ever occurs. It reviews potential families, considers lineages, genetics, and trauma lines, analyzes the opportunities for growth and healing, looks at its own karma, purpose, and evolutionary path, and then, with the guidance of higher beings or inner councils, it makes a choice. A choice not only of who to be born to, but also when. The soul's planning room. Dr. Michael Newton, through thousands of hypnotherapy sessions, recorded consistent reports from people who described this pre-life planning process. These souls reported reviewing past lifetimes, meeting with soul groups, choosing challenges and lessons, selecting key moments in the timeline of their next life. Incarnation is not a gamble, it's a cosmic strategy. When pregnancy ends early, some pregnancies end prematurely, leaving parents in confusion and grief. But from a soul-level perspective, this may not be a tragedy. It may be part of the plan. Esoteric teachings explain that the soul may decide the timing isn't right. The physical or energetic conditions may not match its mission. A short-term presence may have served a specific healing or karmic function. It's not a failure, it's a choice. For parents who have experienced loss, this perspective offers comfort. Your child's soul did not leave out of mistake. It left out of wisdom, timing the descent. Ancient astrological traditions say the soul often waits for specific celestial alignments before entering. Certain planetary positions reflect its mission. Alignments act like spiritual gateways. The soul's energy signature must match the energetic environment. This explains why some pregnancies seem to delay, and others come suddenly out of nowhere. The soul is waiting for the sky to match its song. Dreams before conception. Many parents, long before a positive test, report dreams where a child appears and says, "I'm coming soon." Sometimes the child gives a name, a season or date, a glimpse of their personality. These dreams are not imagined, they're visitations. They represent the moment the soul begins to anchor its presence in the field of the family. Even before the body begins to form, the spiritual contract. This leads to a profound truth. Every pregnancy is a partnership between three wills. The mothers, the fathers, and the souls together, they create the conditions for conscious life to emerge. Nothing happens without alignment. Nothing is wasted, nothing is random. When you understand that your child chose you, something shifts inside you. You realize you were not assigned this soul. You were invited into a sacred partnership with it. Parenting is spiritual practice. From this perspective, parenting is not simply biological or emotional. It is spiritual work. It's a path of mutual growth, shared transformation. Lessons that go both ways. The child brings a mission. The parent brings a lineage. Together they form a field of evolution. Even the challenges, the hard moments were planned together before either of you arrived here. A conscious entrance. In summary, the soul may influence conception before it even begins. It observes the early stages of pregnancy before deciding to enter fully. It may withdraw if conditions are not aligned. It chooses the exact moment to enter, often during conception, implantation, or heartbeat, depending on its own energetic pattern. This is not just mysticism. It's a spiritual science passed down for millennia. And today, you are remembering it. While Western religion often treats the soul as a distant abstraction, esoteric Christianity holds a much deeper, more mystical truth. The soul's entry into the body is not a metaphor. It is a visible event to those with the eyes to see. Across centuries, Christian mystics, saints, and visionaries have described what they witnessed. Golden light descending, celestial beings weaving bodies, a fire that ignites flesh into life. Let's explore the forgotten teachings of those who saw the sacred made manifest. Hildegard of Bingen. The soul is light. In the 12th century, the mystic Hildegard of Bingen recorded visionary experiences of the soul's descent. She described watching golden light emerge from the heart of God, gently spiraling down into a forming child. It clothed the body in brilliance, she wrote, and carried with it the breath of divine wisdom. Hildegard claimed the soul entered not at conception, but when the embryo had reached spiritual maturity, a moment marked by intense radiance and peace. She saw that each soul brought with it three gifts: vitalis, the life force sapientia; the wisdom to evolve caritas, the love needed to connect with others and with God. These did not all anchor at once. They arrived in layers, as if the soul was downloading itself in sacred phases. The Gospel of Philip, the sealing of the soul. In the apocryphal Gospel of Philip, a mystical Christian text excluded from the Bible, it is written, "The Holy Spirit envelops the being like a dove, sealing the soul into the flesh with its wings." This suggests a moment of spiritual bonding, when the body becomes more than matter and the divine becomes real. This sealing is said to leave behind subtle signs that only the spiritually awake can perceive. A glow around the womb, a scent of divine sweetness, a sudden stillness as if angels had entered the room. Meister Eckhart, the ignition. The 13th century mystic Meister Eckhart described the soul's entry not as a pouring of water into a vessel, but as a fire igniting another flame. It is the moment when God kindles the light within form, he wrote. In this view, conscious life begins when spirit touches matter with intent, when the divine spark meets readiness. The Desert Fathers, the weavers of flesh. Early Christian monks, known as the Desert Fathers, reported visions during deep prayer, souls descending like stars, angels weaving ethereal robes around them, the womb glowing like a lantern in the dark. Saint Anthony of Egypt said he saw bodies being wrapped around the soul as garments by angelic hands. These garments weren't physical alone, they were threefold: the physical body, of bone and skin, the etheric body, of energy and breath, the astral body, of emotions and memory. The soul, they taught, must anchor into all three before the incarnation is complete. Teresa of Avila, the 7 rooms of the soul. Saint Teresa of Avila in her mystical writings described the soul as a castle of 7 rooms. During pregnancy, she said, these chambers begin to illuminate one by one, awakening with each passing month. Each chamber brings a layer of awareness, memory, purpose, spiritual light. The 280 days of gestation correspond exactly to the 7 chambers, 40 days per room. It is a spiritual construction project, synchronized with the body's development. Jakob Boehme, the spiritual tincture. German mystic Jakob Boehme described a moment when the soul deposits its tincture into the forming body. This subtle essence carries personality, soul, memory. Spiritual temperament. Boehme said this moment could be perceived by highly intuitive mothers as a sweetness in the womb, a wave of love so strong it stops time. Emanuel Swedenborg, the silver cord. Swedish visionary Emanuel Swedenborg described seeing a silver cord connecting the soul to the divine realms. At the moment of incarnation, this cord becomes anchored, not only in the body but in purpose. It remains intact through life and detaches only at death. He claimed that seers could perceive this cord as a fine beam of light, vibrating with soul color, connecting heaven and earth through the human heart. Angels as midwives of incarnation. Esoteric Christianity teaches that spiritual beings assist every soul in its descent. Archangels guide the karmic blueprint, guardian angels shield the journey, elemental spirits help shape the body. Incarnation is not a random event. It's a divine orchestration involving multiple realms and intelligences. Every soul, no matter how humble its life may seem, arrives with a celestial welcome. The soul's descent, a sacred ritual. To summarize the esoteric Christian view, the soul does not simply fall into the body, it chooses the moment of entry. It descends through layers of the self, energy, emotion, form. It brings with it gifts, life, wisdom, and love. It is assisted by angels. It leaves behind spiritual evidence, seen in dreams, felt in the body, mirrored in time. And most of all, it arrives in love, as an act of trust, of mission, and of cosmic joy. For centuries, the mysteries of the soul's entry were left to mystics, prophets, and poets. But now, modern science is beginning to illuminate what the ancients always knew. Today, neuroscience, quantum physics, and fetal development research are converging on a shocking possibility. Consciousness may not arise from the brain. It may arrive before the brain. Let's explore the latest evidence that points to the soul's arrival during pregnancy, and not simply at birth. Brain Peter Hepper, consciousness at 18 weeks. From Queen's University, Belfast, Dr. Hepper made a revolutionary discovery. Fetuses as young as 18 weeks show musical preferences. They respond differently to specific genres and melodies. They can recognize their mother's voice and even show emotional shifts in response to external stimuli. But here's what shocked the scientific community. These reactions could not be explained by brain development alone. The implication, something or someone is already present, a distinct consciousness with personality, memory, and response. DNA, Dr. Joseph Benvenuto, fetal memory beyond logic. In Italy, neuroscientist Dr. Joseph Benvenuto documented toddlers 2 to 3 years old, describing events that happened during pregnancy. Conversations their parents had, songs that were played in the room, visual memories of people, light, and sound. These should not exist. At that stage of gestation, memory systems aren't even formed. Yet the children remembered stuff with striking accuracy. It suggests that conscious memory may be anchored in the soul, not the brain. Dr. Catherine Monk, emotional telepathy. From Columbia University, Dr. Monk discovered something astonishing. A mother's thoughts and emotions directly affect the fetal heartbeat, not just through hormones, but through an instantaneous, subtle sync. Even the mother's internal stress or joy without speaking or moving changes the fetus's behavior. This reveals a non-verbal, non-chemical communication, one that defies known biology. It's as if the mother and child are in a telepathic bond, two souls sharing one space. Light bulb, Fritz Albert Popp, The Light of Life. In Germany, physicist Dr. Popp discovered that living cells emit biophotons, ultra-weak light particles. These light fields carry information beyond DNA, shaping biological development in real time. But during pregnancy, something strange happens. The fetus emits a unique light pattern, one that cannot be explained by cell activity alone. It's as if an intelligent field, a soul, is radiating its presence. DNA, Dr. Kazuo Murakami, genes that shouldn't activate. Japanese geneticist Dr. Murakami discovered that during certain phases of pregnancy, specific genes related to intuition, creativity, and consciousness activate. But there is no external stimulus triggering them. In other words, these genes turn on as if instructed by an internal, unseen programmer. He concluded, there is likely a non-physical factor guiding this activation. Ancient traditions would call that factor the soul. The critical week. 25 Neuroscience has identified something called the critical 25th week. Around this time, there is a sudden explosion in neural connectivity. The fetal brain begins to exhibit wave patterns similar to adult meditators. It's as if the brain plugs into a higher network, a grid of information. Italian researcher Dr. Luca Tomasi described it as the moment when the brain seems to connect to something outside itself. telepathic twins in the womb. Studies of twins in utero have revealed bizarre, synchronous behavior. When one twin moves, the other adjusts before physical contact happens. When one is stressed, the other mirrors the change instantly. They develop communication systems before birth through energy alone. Dr. Marisa Lopez Chon recorded twins negotiating positions in the womb, with movements too coordinated to be random. What are they responding to? Something beyond reflex, something conscious. Beyond biology. All these findings, dreams, intuition, biophotons, fetal memory, suggest one truth. Consciousness is not created by biology. It joins it, it inhabits it, it guides it. We are not waiting for a brain to light up. We are witnessing a soul that knows its time and makes its entry by choice. What the science is saying, between the lines, biology prepares the vessel. The soul brings the light together, they create life as we know it. Science is now brushing against mysticism. The data is finally catching up to the wisdom kept alive by ancient seers. The soul is real, the soul arrives, and it does so not at random but with purpose, presence, and profound intelligence.